The issue with Sue Bird, though, is she has her hand kind of in so many things. But at the end of the day, someone that went to Yukon and someone that did not go to Yukon mafia is going to stick together. And
Ladies and gentlemen, we are watching a 5-alarm fire unfold in real time, and it is threatening to burn down the fragile bridge between the WNBA's history and its explosive future. If you have been on social media in the last 48 hours, you have seen the headlines, you have seen the rumors, you have heard the whispers that Caitlin Clark, the single most valuable asset in the history of women's basketball, has drawn a line in the sand. We are hearing reports of a walkout. We are hearing reports of a full-blown crisis behind closed doors at USA Basketball, and it all centers around 2 digits on a jersey, number 22. On the surface, this sounds petty. It sounds like a diva moment. You might be sitting there thinking, who cares what number she wears? Just put on the jersey and play. But I need you to listen closely, because this is not about a number. This is not about laundry. This is about a power struggle between the old guard of the WNBA establishment and the undeniable economic force of the new wave. It is a collision between the meritocracy of the past and the commercial reality of the present. And right now, Sue Bird and the executives at Team USA are scrambling because they realize they might have just insulted the one player who holds the keys to their entire financial future. Let's strip away the noise and look at what actually happened, because the truth is far more complicated and far more dangerous for the WNBA than the rumors suggest. On November 24, 2025, USA Basketball dropped the roster for their crucial December training camp in Durham, North Carolina. This is the kickoff for the 2028 Olympic cycle. This is supposed to be a celebration. It's a festival of the next generation, featuring Paige Buchers, Juju Watkins, and of course, Caitlin Clark. But when the official roster sheet hit the internet, nobody was talking about the matchups. Nobody was talking about the coaching. Everyone's eyes went to one specific column: Caitlin Clark, jersey number 17. Now, to the casual observer, 17 is just a number between 16 and 18. But in the world of branding, in the world of intellectual property, and in the eyes of the millions of fans who have followed Caitlin from Iowa to Indiana, the number 17 is a slap in the face. It is a visual disruption of an empire. You have to understand the semiotics here. For Caitlin Clark, 22 isn't just a preference. It is her trademark. It is the visual anchor of a commercial empire that generated an estimated $16 million in earnings in 2025 alone. When you think of the logo range 3s, you think of 22. When you see the Nike marketing campaigns, you see the number 22 woven into her signature logo. The University of Iowa retired that number on February 2025. It hangs in the rafters as a sacred symbol of the greatest collegiate scoring career we have ever seen. To strip that number off her back and hand her a random bureaucratic number like 17 is to tell the world, and to tell her fan base, that in the eyes of USA Basketball, she is nobody special. It says that despite the sold-out arenas, despite the 300% increase in viewership she brought to the league, she is just another rookie who needs to fall in line. And this is where the walkout narrative ignited, almost immediately. The internet exploded with reports that Clark was refusing to play. We saw scripts and commentary videos claiming that she had threatened to flat-out walk away from the team if she was forced to wear 17. The narrative was perfect, the outsider rebel standing up to the jealous establishment. It played into every fear and every frustration her fans have felt since the Olympic snub in 2024. But here is where we have to pause and separate the viral rage from the institutional reality. And to do that, we have to talk about the unmovable object standing in Caitlin's way, because the number 22 wasn't just sitting there empty. It wasn't available. It belongs to A'ja Wilson. And this is the uncomfortable truth that gets lost in the outrage. If Caitlin Clark is the unstoppable force of commerce, A'ja Wilson is the unmovable object of merit. We are talking about a 3-time WNBA MVP. We are talking about a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. We are talking about a woman who led Team USA to glory in Tokyo and Paris while Caitlin was still in college. In the hierarchy of sports, in the sanctity of the locker room, seniority rules, and A'ja Wilson has paid a decade's worth of dues. Just like Clark, Wilson's number 22 was retired by her college, South Carolina, in February 2025. She has just as much claim to that identity as Caitlin does. So USA Basketball found themselves in a no-win scenario. Do you disrespect the reigning best player in the world, the veteran who has carried your program for years, by stripping her number to appease the new rookie? Or do you disrespect the most popular athlete on the planet, the woman who pays the bills, by forcing her into a random jersey? They chose tradition. They chose the hierarchy. They gave Wilson the 22 and Clark the 17. And in doing so, they inadvertently validated every conspiracy theory that exists about the Yukon mafia and the WNBA establishment. Let's dig into that Yukon mafia concept for a second, because you see it all over the comments. The theory is that there is a cabal of Yukon alumni, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Breanna Stewart, who control the levers of power in women's basketball and are actively hostile toward outsiders, especially an outsider from Iowa who threatens their legacy. When fans see Sue Bird, the managing director of Team USA, presiding over this decision, they don't see a neutral administrator, they see a rival. They see the old guard circling the wagons to protect their own. Is Sue Bird actually panicking? The viral reports say she is in a full-blown panic, scrambling to fix a PR disaster. The reality is likely more calculated, but no less stressful. Sue Bird is arguably in the hardest position in sports executive history. She is trying to professionalize a selection process that prides itself on being basketball first, while the rest of the world is screaming for it to be marketing first. This brings us to the walkout rumor itself. Did Caitlin Clark actually threaten to quit? If we look at the official data, the answer appears to be no. As of this moment, she is listed on the 18-player roster. Her own public statements regarding the offseason have emphasized her commitment to USA basketball. The idea that she stormed into a meeting and demanded her number or she walks, that seems to be a fabrication of the internet echo chamber. However, and this is a massive however, the sentiment behind that rumor is real. The leverage is real. And that is what terrifies the establishment. We need to talk about the economics of this, because money is the only language that truly matters here. In the old days, players needed Team USA. The Olympics were the only platform where you could get global endorsement deals. If you didn't play for the national team, you were invisible. That is how the establishment kept players in line. You kissed the ring, you waited your turn, and eventually you got your gold medal. Caitlin Clark broke that model. She shattered it. In 2025, Caitlin Clark ranked as the 6th highest paid female athlete in the world. She is pulling in over $16 million a year, almost entirely from endorsements. Her check from the WNBA? It's peanuts. The maximum salary in the WNBA is currently hovering around $214,000. Even with the proposed increases in the new CBA negotiations, where the league is offering a max of around $1.1 million, it is a drop in the bucket compared to what Clark makes from Nike and Gatorade. Think about that leverage. She does not need the WNBA's money. She certainly does not need the tiny stipend that comes with playing for USA Basketball. She doesn't need the exposure, she is the exposure. If the environment becomes toxic, or if she feels like her brand is being diluted by being forced to wear number 17 and sit on the bench behind veterans, she can literally afford to walk away. That is the nightmare scenario for Sue Bird in the league. The transcript and rumors suggest a line in the sand, and while Clark might be too professional to draw it publicly, her bank account draws it for her. The power dynamic has flipped. Team USA needs Caitlin Clark far, far more than Caitlin Clark needs Team USA. And this tension is happening against the backdrop of a brutal collective bargaining negotiation. The players' union is fighting for revenue sharing. They want a piece of the pie, but for the union to have leverage, they need unity. They need the face of the league, Clark, to be on the same page as the leadership of the league. Often the veterans like Wilson and Stewart. Every time a controversy like this Jersey Gate happens, it drives a wedge between the factions. It pits the Clark stands against the WNBA loyalists. It weakens the collective bargaining power because it creates a narrative of internal civil war rather than a united front against the owners. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room. You cannot talk about the Caitlin Clark phenomenon or the vitriol directed at A'ja Wilson and Sue Bird without talking about the racial and cultural undercurrents driving this engagement. There is a segment of the media and the fan base that has cast Caitlin Clark as the Great White Hope. They view her as a solitary figure fighting against a league that is predominantly black and, in their view, hostile to her success. When A'ja Wilson, a black woman who is the reigning champion, gets the number 22, this segment of the audience doesn't see seniority. They see reverse racism. They see an establishment trying to humble the white superstar. Sue Bird has actually spoken about this. She has been on record stating that Caitlin Clark is being used as a pawn in culture wars that have nothing to do with basketball. She has pointed out that racism has impacted the WNBA for decades, but now it is being weaponized in a new way. By framing every administrative decision like a jersey number assignment as a personal attack on Clark, these narratives feed a toxic, polarized environment. On the flip side, you have the argument for black excellence. Supporters of A'ja Wilson look at the outrage and see entitlement. They ask, why should a three-time MVP and Olympic gold medalist give up her identity for a rookie who has played one professional season? They point to Michael Jordan. When Jordan played for the Dream Team in 1992, he didn't wear 23. He wore number 9. Why? Because of FIBA rules at the time. Did Michael Jordan threaten to walk out? No. He wore number 9, he dominated, and he won gold. They point to Kobe Bryant. Kobe created a whole new identity with number 10 for the Redeem Team. The argument here is that true greatness doesn't need a specific number to validate it. If Caitlin Clark is the greatest, she will make number 17 iconic. She will sell 1 million number 17 jerseys. Demanding that Wilson step aside is viewed by many as a lack of respect for the history of the game and the women who built the foundation Clark is standing on. But here is where the logic of sports history clashes with the logic of modern marketing. When Jordan wore number 9, he was already the undisputed king of the world. His brand was bulletproof. Clark is still building hers. Her fans see the number 22 as a shield, a symbol of the style of play that they fell in love with. To see her in 17 feels like seeing her in a straitjacket. It feels like the system is trying to conform her, rather than adapting to her. So, where do we go from here? Is this actually a disaster as the headlines claim? In the short term, no. Caitlin Clark will likely show up to camp. She will likely wear number 17. She will likely say all the right things to the press about being honored to represent her country. She is media savvy. She knows that throwing a tantrum over a jersey number would damage her reputation more than wearing a 17 would. But in the long term, this is a tremor that predicts an earthquake. The friction we are seeing over roster spots, over minutes played, over jersey numbers, is the sound of a sport growing too fast for its own infrastructure. The old way of doing things, where you respect your elders and wait your turn, is dying. The new way, where the audience decides who matters and the money follows the stars, is taking over. A'ja Wilson deserves number 22. She earned it with blood, sweat, and gold medals, but Caitlin Clark is the economy of the WNBA, and eventually something has to give. As we head toward the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, the pressure on USA Basketball to feature Clark, not just as a player, but as the star, will become overwhelming. If Clark continues on her current trajectory, breaking records and selling out arenas, by the time 2028 rolls around, she won't just be a participant, she will be the leverage. And at that point, the conversation about who wears number 22 might look very different. This isn't just about a jersey, it's about who owns the future of women's basketball. Is it the players who built the house? Or is it the player who filled the seats? Right now, the score is settled. Wilson keeps the number. Clark takes the high road. But make no mistake, the fans are keeping score, and they aren't looking at the scoreboard, they're looking at the jersey sales. And in that arena, 22 is undefeated. We are going to be watching this camp in December like hawks, not just to see who scores, but to see the body language, to see how Sue Bird manages the egos, to see if the Yukon mafia embraces the Iowa icon, or if the freeze-out continues. The walkout didn't happen today, but if USA Basketball doesn't figure out how to merge these two worlds, the meritocracy and the market, the next threat might not be a rumor, it might be a resignation letter. And for a league that is finally getting the attention it deserves, that is a risk they literally cannot afford to take.